You're running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Let's try that again. Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. Sorry, a little technical difficulty here getting started this morning. What's not having a technical difficulty is the markets. They are moving like they always do. We've seen almost a complete reversal. We saw the NASDAQ, S&P, and Dow previously up almost a full percentage point earlier today. Now all of them are in the red. Yesterday, we saw a big reversal during the day. The reversal really started when the president came out and said, you know, hey, we're ready to end this war. Maybe funny how he came out with a war prediction as oil was threatening to break through 125, and the markets were in the crapper. What came from there is markets took off after he said the war could be over soon. That was on CBS, if I'm not mistaken. And we saw about an 1,100 point rebound from session lows on the Dow. So, you know, if you look at it yesterday, you hit lows, you were down here around 46,350, and you can see that hammer candlestick that it printed after that. So big move up there. We are seeing a little bit of a pullback here so far this morning. Like I said, volatility index is at 25.21, way off of the highs towards 35 we saw yesterday, but still paying elevated. You know, traders are paying for elevated volatility. IV is high still. And unfortunately, rates are continuing to move to the upside. They were, again, a little bit tampered down earlier in the day, but now they are moving back up after yesterday's drop. So 30-year up about 1%, 10-year up about 66 basis points so far. When we also look, the dollar has cooled off slightly, not a ton. It did get up over 95. Over 99, excuse me, above 99.5 is what I was trying to say. And now has pulled back to a little bit more, less steamy level at 98.70. Gold and silver are both catching a little bit of a bid so far today after consolidating over the last 4 or 5 days. We see gold finally breaking back above that 51.50 spot for the first time in a few sessions. And silver back above 88 again for the first time since, you know, the first couple of days of March. Crude is picking back up this morning after, you know, cratering. It, as I mentioned, WTI hit a high of over 112, got down as low as 79 or so, and now trading in that 87 level. So we do see a little bit of the volatility in oil picking back up here. And Brent sitting at 90, very similar structure, got up above 113, got down as low as 83 and now in that $89 area so far. Bitcoin really took off nicely right about when the president spoke. So he did get crypto moving. And we, again, from yesterday's lows that were in that 65 area, all the way up to 71 before seeing a retracement over the last hour or so, or last couple of hours come in. If we can hold 70K here, I remain bullish. I am cautiously bullish. ETF inflows came back into the ETFs. On Bitcoin and on not as much on Ethereum. Actually had a little bit of outflow still, but Bitcoin still looking really good. Might try to, if it give us a little bit of a bounce off this 70 level and move back up. I think we try to make a move towards that 73, 74 area that we challenged last Wednesday. So again, so far it was looking better, as were the markets green about an hour ago. They have since sort of retraced back down. You'd have to ask if folks are doubting, the president's call there. So we will see what that comes or what comes from that. Overseas markets, though, also very positive overnight. The Kospi in South Korea is up about 5.35% here. The Nikkei almost flat, and again, trading very similar to what we see on our markets so far with the morning structure. Chinese markets are moving to the upside, up about 2%. And Europe's having a pretty good day while it is pulling back over the last 2 hours. They are up about 1.7% also. So overseas markets do point to a little bit of an upside possibility. But when we look now, and this is a big difference than just an hour ago, all of the sectors of the S&P are now in the red. So we've already seen a reversal from the 7:30 hour to now, in that, everything is down. What we had seen as energy was retracing, utilities was retracing, and materials. But we had seen green, especially XLK, had been up. Like I said, up around 140. So it was actually up for the day about 0.5%, now down 0.5%. So market's not liking the start of the day so far. I do see that, we're going to have a lot of, tweet analysis on tap. We're going to have to keep an eye on, it looks like, today. So definitely something that we'll be watching very closely throughout the day. So that's what we're getting at as a setup so far, looking at it from a bigger structure. It does look like we're moving a little bit risk off here as we get closer to the open. But, again, one or two tweets can change that dramatically and change the entire structure of it. So we'll see if it does or doesn't today. Some of the stocks or movers we were watching, as you can imagine, it's been a little bit of reversal, or at least now I'm nervous that everything I looked at an hour ago is going to be different. But we had seen a little bit of a reversal from the last, several trading. Okay, at least that is still the same. Since the last several trading sessions, and what we see are some of the defense names, ESLT, which is an Israeli software and defense company, down. We had seen, though, that they look like they're doing better now. We had seen a pullback across Kratos, LM and LMT, RTX, all those, they seem to be pushing up a little bit. What I do see is a continued slide. Carnival down another 1.4%. We do see energy names, cooling off, but if oil is going to start to pick back up, maybe that changes. Because again, most of the morning's laggards had been ConocoPhillips and names of that nature. We also do see, so while it is interesting, we see a wind down of some of the names that have been getting a lot of boost during the, the war. Names like Oxy, names like AEHR, names like Kratos, all moving back to the downside today. But we also see on the other side of that, the names that were moving back are pulling back. So we're seeing it from both sides here. And laggards are starting to pick up some pace versus where they were again about an hour ago. From the other side, what is moving up again, and at least what was moving up, were a lot of the beta names, the crypto names. Crypto cooling off a little bit, seems to have cooled them off, but MicroStrategy, we can see, is still up about 2.34%. Coinbase up about 2.27%. American Bitcoin, the Trump family mining company, up 3.61%. TeraWulf, another data center Bitcoin mining name, up about 1.95%. We also see some of the mining names making a bid today. HYMC back here, Lithium LITE here back in the names. Or minerals. So some of the mineral names are starting to get a little bit of love. SSRM here this morning. Archer Daniels. So those names are getting some love. We do see with the Kospi being up today, and a lot of that having to do with the chip sector. Usually keep an eye on SanDisk, is up about 1.52% here this morning. So you could see some of those storage names. We'll have to take a look here, but it won't surprise me to see Seagate up slightly here, but was up about 6% yesterday on that bounce. So again, some of those chip names really doing pretty well. Let's take a rundown through the Mag 7 and see what we have going on here. NVIDIA, which ended up strong yesterday, really made a late afternoon move, is down a little bit, down about 26 basis points at 182.17. For me, break yesterday's high of 182.91, and you're looking for a run towards that 185 area. Apple is down about 12 basis points here today. Again, it was up almost a full percentage point yesterday. This one, key support level to watch. Can we stay above yesterday's lows of 253.68 right now? Use that as support maybe for a move back to the upside. Google's down about 10 basis points. That one, similar to NVIDIA, was up more than 2% yesterday. And I think if you break yesterday's high of 306.50, watch for a bigger move to the upside. So it does look like a few of the Mag 7 looking to run. Same thing, Microsoft moving back to the upside here today, was up slightly yesterday. Amazon also trying to see a continuation to the upside. If it can break that 213 or remain above that 213.90 level, could be a nice move here. Meta up about a half percentage point here in the pre-market, and Tesla up 70 basis points here. And again, if Tesla can break through that 401.60 area, watch for a bigger move back up towards that 407, 408. So the markets, if we do see a continuation of follow through this morning, the markets do have some pretty good area to run, at least the megas. And if the mega start to move, they should take the indices with them, and that should get a more broad market movement. And right now it is rather narrow. While we are up on advanced decline slightly, we see more in the green than the red. It is only 184 in that direction, so rather neutral to start off here, as we're about 35 minutes from the open or so. And tick's been fairly muted most of the morning, not a ton going on there. Qs have now just gone flat on the morning. Again, they finished up 1.34%. And if I'm looking at the Qs, as I mentioned, to break above 609.35 here, and I'm looking for a run back up towards the 612 level, quite honestly. So again, we do have a setup where if we do see some strength here this morning to make a move to the upside, if we do get some tweet analysis the other way, though, your key spot here is breaking below that 605.49 would definitely open up downside there for you. So We are set up so far pretty well. Let's take a look through some of the morning gainers and laggards and what we've got going on. Some of the stocks moving the most, like I said, Occidental Petroleum down about 2.56 after the president spoke about the conflict in the Middle East coming to an end soon. He did say what they thought would take 4 to 5 weeks, they had already accomplished. That sparked a drop in oil prices, so it has Oxy down about 2.53%. CVX also, Chevron, retracing about 35 basis points. And ExxonMobil down about 52 basis points. Again, though, all of those are above their lows of the day. And if folks don't seem, if the rhetoric starts to pick back up in the Middle East, these would be names to look at for a bounce back from that. If we do get more calming influence and it does look like maybe things are moving in the right direction, then these can, continue to slide off, and look for the fade there. We did have Hewlett Packard out of their earnings. HPE, Hilo, or Hotel Papa Echo there, trading down about 2.15%. They did have an earnings beat. That doesn't have the full breakdown yet, does this? No, let's see if I can find you the full breakdown. Here we go. They reported first quarter earnings of 65 cents a share, and the revenue was about 9.3 billion, which was a little bit of a miss. So top line revenue miss, but an EPS beat. The CEO said it was a strong quarter. They grew revenues with the addition of Juniper, and they have strong momentum across both segments. Total revenue was up about 18% from the prior year, mostly driven by networking segment, which has grown thanks to the recent acquisition of Juniper Networks. Networking revenue for the quarter was 2.7 billion, up 152% from the previous year. Within the company's cloud and AI segment, though, server revenue dropped about 2.7% from the prior year to 4.2 billion. They did say they had an AI backlog of about 5 billion, but most of that backlog is with government and enterprise customers. Those orders can be a longer time frame to complete. So pretty good earnings there by HPE, Hewlett Packard. They said they were able to manage the rising memory cost environment. They said previously they had raised prices and were working with suppliers to offset those headwinds. They did say that prices will continue to go up, and they expect memory problems to remain well into 2027. So again, that's a pretty good sign for SanDisk, Seagate, Western Digital, those names in the memory chip area. They did raise their adjusted earnings guidance for the fiscal year. It now expects fiscal 2026 earnings to be between $2.30 a share to $2.50 a share. That was about a nickel above on both of those estimates from where the street had come in. But again, the market, without a clean beat, a clean, guidance, everything working in your favor in general, you're getting hit pretty hard. On the pharmaceutical biotech side, we've got a nice move here in the pre-market by Vertex. Pharmaceuticals up about 6.32 between the last 2 days, up almost 8%. That was after positive results from their trial of drugs that will treat a rare kidney disease. They said in a statement late Monday that their drug had met its primary objective in a late-stage trial. Patients that were treated with it achieved a 52% reduction from baseline. So again, a good job. It does show that the proteins in the urine are being filtered and, got the market moving in the right way. So one to keep an eye on today. That news can lead to multi-day runs. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a continued move to the upside there. On sort of the bounce backs from last week, like I mentioned, some of the high flyers from last week are cooling off today. We see some of the opposite there. Last week or so, Archer Aviations, especially after their earnings, last Monday had seen a weak run. They are up about 5% here, and part of that is after the news that the Transportation Department has unveiled selections for its pilot programs for testing next-gen aircraft for the air taxi business. So that has Archer moving up pretty well. It also had Joby. I always hate when I do this and don't look just before I come on. Joby, yes, up about 9% on that news. So we are seeing that. The other one was Beta, I believe, is the other name that was moving on that. So some of those low earth, some of those names, up about 12% in the last 2 days there. Nice move to the upside. I would keep an eye on Fly. Also tends to move when those move, although it's down. It was up about 5% yesterday. But there are some names to keep an eye on in that sector today, for sure. Coal's one that Steve and I have never really been a big fan of, down almost 4% here, or just above 4% after their earnings. They did post a drop in sales. Company posted adjusted earnings of about $1.07 a share for the quarter. That was above analyst consensus. Net sales were $4.97 billion, but that was down 3.9% from the prior year and below estimates. So again, we've started to see the positive news across most of the retail sector really ended it at the early into the Christmas season. They haven't seen that move come through. Their comparable sales decreased 2.8%, so that's not very good there either. Their shares are down 27% this year so far. They did on forward guidance say they see comparable net sales down 2% to flat in the current fiscal year, with adjusted per share earnings of about $1 to $1.60. So that is what we're seeing. We are starting to see some more FDA news, seeing another one here where they just approved the first drug for rare genetic disorders after touting its autism treatment. So, we've seen a lot of pressure, a lot of talk from healthcare companies over the last few weeks that the FDA was putting them in a tough situation. They had been given the sort of indication, a lot of health companies, that they were on the right track to getting guidance, getting positive movement in their trials, and then it was sort of struck down without any reasoning. So, and we saw the one resignation and removal at the FDA of their vaccine boss there because of it. And now we are starting to see some movement here. So that's good to see, because it's been definitely a slowdown. We don't want to stop that type of stuff. We want to make sure that we continue to move in the right direction there. Let's take a look here. We are about 25 minutes from the open. NASDAQ has gone pretty much flat here now. S&P trying to get up towards flat. So we're getting much more close to neutral here as we get towards the beginning of the trading day. VIX is coming down a little bit again below the 25 level. So that's good to see. Rates are continuing to move down here, or drift down slightly this morning also. The dollar drifting down a little bit as we speak also, and gold and silver continuing to catch a bid, moving to the upside near highs of the day. Oil, as long as it remains, down, if we can keep oil below the 90s here, I think it's going to give us a lot more room, a lot more breathing room today. So that's what we should watch for. If we start to see those click back above 90, I would start to get a little bit more nervous. Bitcoin, like I said, I do think has room for a run. Nicely retested that 70K level at 7,300, it looks like. And now moving back to the upside, I am looking for it to try to make a move over the next 24, 48 hours towards that 74K level. So does look fairly positive there. And the indices across overnight markets overseas lead us to a pretty good spot to start the day. But again, we're going to need to see all these sectors of the S&P start to turn around. I do feel like the markets want to move to the upside here if they can get a little bit of breathing space. If we go green, watch for a run from there. So I am solo today. BigBeat is on vacation. So that is my rundown for this morning, everybody. Markets, I do think, want to start to move to the upside. But again, you're watching for tweet analysis. When it comes, we do have some earnings to talk about too, or at least one or two big earnings to talk about here. Let me pull up my earnings calendar. Whoops, wrong thing. And the big name is going to be Oracle, of course. We got a bunch on tap, but the big name is going to be Oracle right at about 4:05 this evening. Loan Depot, another company in there. There are a few others. Seeing if anybody else big matters. Not really. A lot of other big names coming in. We've had a lot of the other ones come out already. Kohl's, United Natural Foods came out. Let's see what this did. UNFI, they're up about 8% here. So on their earnings, looks like they are moving up on that. It says their profitability and cash flow surged. If you don't know, United Natural Foods, one of the bigger organic food providers here in the U.S. Trying to see if anything else is catching across my tweet deck. We do see that Aramco CEO is saying they are getting ready, maybe they can resume any curtailed oil output within days. So that's pretty good to see there. I will say NVIDIA also keep an eye on. They're going into their tech days next week, and that is always a big news event for them. And as we know, sometimes you buy the rumor, sell the news. So you could see NVIDIA try to make a pretty big run up here today and over the next couple of days. So for me, everybody have a great trading day. I will see you bright and early tomorrow. I will have Mr. Flanagan with me tomorrow. So we'll be talking some forex and some other stuff there. Everybody have a great trading day.